The emotion of anger is a universally human experience, but its consequences can be highly individual and frequently harmful. At first glance, anger may manifest as a surge of energy, acting as a mobilizing force that demands attention. However, beneath this emotional rush often lies a complex maze of unmet expectations, feelings of injustice, or perceived affronts to one's ego. While anger can offer a surge of adrenaline that spurs action, the type of action it incites is not necessarily rational or productive. In fact, its potential to cloud judgment and drive impulsive behavior poses significant risks. Pause and reflect. The technique of pausing and reflecting is deeply rooted in Stoic philosophy and serves as a potent antidote to the rashness that often accompanies anger. When gripped by the forceful emotion of anger, our first instinct might be to react immediately, as though doing so would somehow validate our feelings or rectify the situation. However, in those crucial moments of heightened emotion, our judgment is typically clouded, and what feels like a justified reaction may later transform into regret or even escalate the situation further. Pausing and reflecting offer us the space to disengage, even if only momentarily, from the emotional intensity that threatens to sweep us away. This pause is not just a hiatus from action, but a valuable interval in which to insert reason and critical thinking. Within this space, you have the opportunity to question the root of your anger. Is it genuinely justified, or is it a manifestation of a bruised ego or unmet expectations? Is the object of your anger really the cause, or are they merely a trigger for deeper underlying issues? By asking these questions, you turn the spotlight inward, focusing on your internal state rather than external circumstances. This is not to negate the validity of your anger, but rather to ensure that any subsequent action or response is well considered and aligned with your values. You give yourself the chance to choose your reaction rather than being blindly led by the whims of your emotions. So the next time anger starts to build, remember the wisdom of the Stoics. Take a pause, step back and reflect. This momentary detachment may provide the perspective needed to navigate the situation with grace and dignity, ensuring that your actions are in harmony with your greater aims and principles. Dichotomy of control. The dichotomy of control is a principle frequently discussed in Stoic philosophy, but its significance, especially in controlling emotions like anger, can never be overstated. At its most basic, the dichotomy of control admonishes us to divide the elements of our lives into two categories: things we can control and things we cannot. This principle serves as an invaluable compass, guiding us through the labyrinth of life's challenges and decisions. While it may seem self-evident, the application of this principle is anything but simplistic, particularly when it comes to complex emotions like anger. Anger often arises from situations where we perceive an injustice, an affront, or a loss. It propels us into a state where we seek to regain control, to right a wrong, or to assert our will. Yet it is crucial to pause and apply the dichotomy of control at the very onset of these emotions. Can we control the actions of another person who has incited our anger? Usually not. Can we control external circumstances that have led to our aggravated state? Again, often the answer is no. What we can control, however, are our own reactions, our own internal state, and the values we bring to bear on the situation. When we apply the dichotomy of control to our feelings of anger, something transformative happens. We begin to see that our anger, inflamed by things beyond our control, serves little purpose other than to disturb our peace of mind. This realization is not an invitation to suppress or ignore the emotion, but rather to process it in the context of what can be changed and what must be accepted. It is a proactive approach that places us back in the driver's seat of our emotional lives. Frequently referenced yet rarely fully implemented, the dichotomy of control is a cornerstone for emotional regulation. It won't magically dissipate the emotion of anger, but it provides a framework within which that anger can be understood, managed, and eventually diffused. By consistently applying this principle, we can navigate through the emotionally charged moments in our lives with greater clarity and equanimity, ensuring that even when we cannot control external events, we remain the masters of our internal world. Empathy and understanding. Empathy and understanding aren't just principles for positive interaction. They can be powerful tools in overcoming anger as well. When anger rears its head, it often clouds our judgment and narrows our perspective. We become fixated on our own feelings, our own viewpoint, and the perceived injustices that have been done to us. It is a self-centered emotion that blinds us to the broader context of human experience and interaction. Herein lies the value of empathy and understanding in de-escalating anger. When we allow ourselves to pause and employ empathy, we invite the possibility of understanding the other, be it a person, a situation, or an event that has elicited our anger. We make an attempt to see things from a perspective other than our own. This can be an eye-opening exercise, as it often reveals that the actions or circumstances that have angered us are not as black and white as they first appeared. Perhaps the person who wronged you is also struggling with their challenges, making their behavior less a targeted attack and more a reflection of their own issues. Understanding and empathy are not just principles for fostering positive interactions. They can also serve as potent tools for managing and mitigating anger. When anger emerges, it frequently clouds our judgment and narrows our perspective, causing us to become fixated on our own emotions, viewpoints, and perceived injustices done to us. Anger tends to be a self-centered emotion, obscuring our view of the broader context of human experiences and interactions. This is where the value of empathy and understanding becomes apparent in de-escalating anger. Taking a moment to pause and employ empathy allows us to consider the perspective of others, whether it's a person, a situation, or an event that triggered our anger. This practice opens our eyes to the realization that the actions or circumstances that provoked our anger are often more nuanced than they initially appeared. Perhaps the individual who wronged us is also grappling with their own challenges, making their behavior less of a targeted attack and more a reflection of their personal issues. Empathy humanizes them rather than demonizes them, representing the first step in letting go of our anger. Understanding complements this by providing a framework for placing this new perspective. It encourages us to critically evaluate not only the actions leading to our anger, but also our responses to them. It prompts us to assess whether our anger serves a constructive purpose or merely eats away at our peace of mind and overall well-being. Often, understanding reveals that our anger, while a natural emotional response, does not serve our long-term goals or emotional equilibrium. This realization can be a powerful catalyst for change, motivating us to seek alternative ways to address the situation that triggered our anger. These alternatives are grounded in reason and judgment rather than inflamed emotion. When engulfed in anger, we tend to lose sight of the bigger picture, allowing the immediacy of the emotion to distort our judgment. Even insignificant issues can appear monumental, contributing to a cycle of agitation and stress. In such cases, the transformative power of a simple question arises. Will this matter a year from now, or even a week or a month from now? This question prompts us to step back and assess the situation more objectively. It acts as an emotional circuit breaker, disrupting the escalation of anger and allowing cooler heads to prevail. This question compels us to extend our emotional and temporal perspective, evaluating the situation from a vantage point that is not consumed by the heat of the moment. More often than not, we realize that the sources of our anger are ephemeral, and their significance is inflated by our emotional state. Recognizing this liberates us from carrying needless emotional baggage, making it easier to let go, choose serenity over strife, and focus our energies on matters that genuinely warrant our attention. The practice of premeditatio malorum, or the premeditation of evils, is an ancient Stoic exercise that involves envisioning potential negative scenarios or setbacks before they occur. While it may sound counterintuitive in the quest for peace and tranquility, it is remarkably effective in managing anger. The core idea is not to be pessimistic, but rather to be prepared for life's uncertainties, reducing the emotional volatility often associated with unexpected negative experiences. By premeditating on potential negatives, one can adjust their expectations in advance, minimizing the emotional gap between what is expected and what actually happens. This reduces the intensity of anger. Moreover, premeditation allows individuals to consider rationally how to deal with challenges should they arise, shifting the emotional energy from a reactive state to a proactive one. Rather than being consumed by anger, one finds themselves contemplating constructive ways to address difficulties. This shift in perspective empowers us to approach problems with a sense of preparedness, lowering the likelihood of rage-filled outbursts or impulsive actions that might later be regretted. Mastering one's anger is a journey that is neither swift nor straightforward. However, the Stoic principles discussed here provide time-tested strategies for effectively managing this volatile emotion. These techniques serve as essential tools in your emotional toolbox. The goal is not to eliminate anger, which is an unrealistic aspiration, but rather to manage it effectively so that it doesn't compromise your well-being or relationships.